Valley is largely dependent on its agricultural economy. And that economy is driven by a water system that includes the mighty Rio Grande River and a huge aquifer. And both of those are fed by the snowmelt that comes off of these beautiful mountains that we see all around us. I'm Jared Smith with Freshwater News, and we are here in the San Luis Valley in southern Colorado to talk about water.
So these are Reveille russet potatoes. We're Worley Family Farms. We're a family farming operation, 5 generations, and we've been raising potatoes for probably 70 some years here. We're highly dependent on our snowpack for our water source. We're a high mountain desert. We don't get but about 6 to 7 inches of rainfall per year.
The aquifer has been under a tremendous amount of stress in the past several years, not unlike other states in the American West. There's been a 19-year drought, and the flows in the river have been shrinking, and as a result, the aquifer is shrinking as well.
This is an alfalfa crop.
And this alfalfa is watered via the aquifer that lies underneath these fields.
Yes. As a community, we all want this to be sustainable, whether you have surface water or well water.
The fact that the river and the aquifer no longer have the water supplies that they once did means that there's a tremendous amount of pressure over who gets the water when. Meanwhile, a company in Denver called Renewable Water Resources, or RWR, is proposing to export 22,000 acre-feet of water, that's roughly enough for 44,000 homes or so, to the suburbs of Denver, the southern suburbs, which are desperate for water because they're growing so fast. And their proposition here in the valley is, look, you guys need to reduce the amount of water you're using to protect the aquifer. Why not sell it to us? Sean Toner, you're a Colorado native. You have a company that has a very big idea about a new water project here in Colorado, and it's a controversial idea.
Absolutely, and they say, whiskey's for drinking and water's for fighting. So any water project is going to be controversial out here in the West. And so our vision is to move 22,000 acre-feet from the San Luis Valley via pipeline up to the Platte River and then floated along the river into Denver. We believe it can be a win-win for one of the poorest parts of the state to benefit one of the parts of the state that's very poor on water.
Your company is offering millions of dollars in support to the region.
We're proposing a $50 million community fund. We're proposing $68 million to retire water rights, so farmers would benefit, the community would benefit, and $50 million goes quite a long way in the San Luis Valley.
But this is a region that has an historic, fiercely proud agricultural tradition.
The leaders on the agricultural side, the folks opposed to our project, they all recognize that the valley, in order to be healthy, needs to be a more diversified economy. Potatoes probably aren't the best crop to be growing, at least in the magnitude that they grow them in the San Luis Valley.
And why is that?
It's a heavy water-intensive crop. We've got to transform our agricultural-based economy into products that use less water.
Sean, this idea is causing a huge amount of controversy in the valley, a lot of anger, a lot of anxiety. How are you dealing with that, and how are you addressing those concerns?
Yeah, I think the first part is education. Many folks in the valley don't realize, to quote the Denver Post, San Luis Valley is the Saudi Arabia of water.
So that's a misleading statement, Jared, because it's just factually, from an engineering and hydrologic standpoint, just not accurate.
This is Cleve Simpson. He's general manager of the Rio Grande Water Conservation District.
The system has been on steady decline for the last 20 years. If there was this abundant source of water and renewable source of water, you would see our aquifer systems actually flourishing. It's just inappropriate to reflect this as this panacea or this gold mine of water just readily available for the tapping.
Item 19 is financial matters.
This district has been actively involved in every one of these water export proposals, which happen on about every decade since 1972, and have been successful in defeating all efforts to really transport water out of this basin.
What are some of the most promising alternatives to maintaining this historic ag economy, even under pressure from the Front Range?
Farmers are pretty resilient, and several things happen. You get immediate conservation efforts. You see people thinking about how and when they run their irrigation systems, how they irrigate their crop. And then secondly, it's been amazing to watch people considering alternative crops.
You know, we've changed our irrigation practices dramatically.
Greg, how far are we from the Rio Grande River here?
At this point, we're about 8 miles from the diversion off the river.
This is Greg Heigl, a local farmer here in the San Luis Valley.
Since the early 2000s, we've been in roughly a drought, and we went from flood irrigation to pretty much strictly sprinkler irrigation. And when you went to sprinklers, they're more efficient, your crop's more efficient, so there's no overuse of water.
How do you feel about the proposal to export water out of the valley?
Oh, I feel very strongly against it. I've been around water all my life, and every time some water is taken out of a basin, it's never good for the basin. Actually, this one scares me, because we've been going through well regulation now, and this water scheme is going to use the rules to get it done. They're coming after us as a community thing, like they will help us. They'll put money into the valley and help the economy, and I've been around long enough that it doesn't help the area when they do this.
We know there are farmers out there who think this export proposal has merit, but we could not convince anyone to go on camera to talk about it because it's such a controversial, divisive topic down here, sometimes pitting neighbor against neighbor. As the water crisis intensifies in the American Southwest, cities who don't have water will pursue those who do. Without question, ways will have to be found to share water between agricultural communities and the cities who so desperately need it. In states like Colorado, a fair solution can't come soon enough. I'm Jared Smith of Freshwater News, reporting for the Water Desk.